Hello fun people, I'm Isaac Carlson, and today I want to discuss why Abuela Alma didn't respect Luisa. Before turning her back on Mirabel, Abuela didn't trust Bruno's intentions. She glorified Isabela and took for granted Luisa's power and resilience. Luisa was one of the Madrigals who was under Abuela's influence and control the most. She had pressure on her that she couldn't escape for years, and it was all because of the expectations that grew throughout her life. People knew she was strong, so they assumed she had the strength to take on all of their burdens. Luisa is a classic example of a middle child. Abuela spends all of her time praising Isabela's beauty, charm, and grace, and condemning what she sees as Mirabel's deviant and misguided behaviors. There was a belief in the Encanto that Isabela was bringing forth the future of the Madrigals, while Mirabel was always the one causing trouble for their family. The oldest daughter of Julieta was perfect, and the youngest was the worst, and that left no attention or concern for Luisa. Of course, though, that didn't mean there were no chores for her to do. Abuela always made sure Luisa's blessings were put to good use, which makes sense. Sure, there are a lot of Madrigals who have helpful gifts, but when it comes to maintaining the village, no one comes close to being as beneficial as Luisa. While she can do simple tasks like collect donkeys, she also can move supplies, construction materials, and even buildings themselves. She can reroute rivers, push mountains, and is as tough as the earth. Luisa could shape the world around her with her bare hands, and in response to such a powerful gift, Abuela set her out into the community to serve everyone without considering the load she was placing on her granddaughter and how she was treating her. One thing I remember being told by my mom growing up was that my friends would treat my younger brother Adam the same way that I treated him. So if Adam came into my room and I screamed at him, as I often did, then my friends would also act like he shouldn't be around. They would also treat him like he was an annoying kid brother. But I didn't want my friends to think that they could speak to him like that. I had to be more aware of how I was treating my brother, especially around other people. And in Encanto, Abuela set the tone for how the village was supposed to interact with Luisa, and she treated her like a servant. When Abuela calls for their family to start setting up Antonio's ceremony, Luisa is supposed to just run to her call.
Luisa, the piano goes upstairs. I'm on it.
Even before Antonio receives his gift, most of the Madrigals are enjoying the celebration or welcoming people with their gifts. But Luisa, she's a donkey attendant. Luisa is literally lifting people off of their animals, giving them a parking slip, and parking their donkeys. I thought we learned from Shang-Chi that a parking attendant isn't necessarily a great role for someone with lots of potential.
Parking cars is super hard.
Thanks, bro. Maybe one day you'll pass your driver's test. Live the dream like me.
It feels like Luisa is just another powerful donkey for the town to use instead of what she actually is, one of the most considerate, giving, and valuable people walking amongst them. I mean, when Abuela wants Luisa to get them a piano after Mirabel's warnings about the cracks in the casita, she literally just claps her hands like she's a dog doing what she's told.
Music!
And those expectations are then put on her by people outside of their family, even when Luisa is at home. It's just hard to watch Luisa be the only Madrigal who is ordered around all the time by everyone in the village. Like when the Guzmans visit, she's expected to serve them just like she serves Abuela, even though she's in the middle of eating a meal.
Lisa, could you bring over the piano?
Okay.
And what does Abuela do when Luisa is being disrespected in the casita? Absolutely nothing, because at the moment she was more concerned about Isabela getting engaged and ensuring Mirabel didn't screw it all up. The fact was that throughout most of Luisa's life, no one came to her aid about her insecurities because no one noticed them in her. And she doesn't even receive any thanks for her efforts. No one appreciates or sees the sacrifices she makes to help everyone. And what makes it even worse is the fact that most of the time people only acknowledge her when they need her help. That's why she feels like her only worth derives from her acts of service. Luisa became as helpful, hardworking, and understanding as she could and established a facade of strength in hopes of receiving love. But that also meant that she never was the most pressing matter for Abuela. She was shut out of Abuela's concerns because she never seemed to need her as much as Isabela and Mirabel did. Luisa fell through the cracks, even though she was drowning. That's why when Luisa's powers began to fade, she broke down so quickly, especially during the meal with the Guzmans. But Abuela knew before that dinner that she needed to talk to Luisa about how she was doing, because Abuela saw that she was upset. Instead of going to Luisa's side though, she told Mirabel to stop whatever she was doing and then got the Guzmans so that Mariano could propose to Isabela. Even when it was clear to Abuela that Luisa needed her help, she still ignored that call so that she could focus on Isabela and Mirabel, and that's because she believed their actions were having a larger effect on their home. Luisa was on her own for years, dealing with the crushing weight of Abuela's expectations without any support from her or anyone else, but Abuela wasn't resting either. Since the moment she lost Pedro and received the miracle, she'd been constantly fighting to ensure that the new home they had could not disappear like it had when she was a young woman. Abuela was hardened, burdened with grief, and unwavering in her determination to keep her family together. She was misguided as she focused on the results of her family's magic instead of showing everyone her love, but she was working constantly. So I think when Abuela looked at Luisa, she didn't see someone with burdens. She saw someone who was committed fully to the family. Due to her distorted reality, she thought Luisa was doing everything right. The truth was, though, that they were both living a joyless, high-stress, and draining life, but they continued to endure because they thought they were serving their family and were scared about what would happen if they stopped. The pressure of keeping the Madrigals together passed to Luisa, and Abuela just couldn't see how that weight was damaging her obedient, helpful, and kind granddaughter. Because of Abuela's own crushing burdens, she was unable to respect Luisa and everything she did for their family. Of course, though, even with that rough history between them, Luisa never stopped loving her grandmother. I mean, Luisa protected Abuela when the casita was beginning to fall. She helped rebuild their home and was thrilled to be alongside all of the Madrigals. But she also needed moments to breathe. Fun people, thank you so much for all of your support on my Encanto videos over the last few weeks. It's been so humbling and exciting. I've really grown to love this movie, and I'm so glad another Disney animated feature has captured the world's attention and has allowed me to be introduced to millions of more Disney fans like you from around the world. I really want this community that we have to be the biggest and the best that it can be. So whether you've been here for years or whether this is the first video of mine you've seen, I just wanted to say thank you for being here. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more magical videos, and of course, have a magical day.